Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. I wanted to go live this morning to share, like I mentioned, the difference between high standards and healthy standards. And it's really interesting. It's a topic that I've been thinking about a lot lately. And it's really funny when you get down to, hey, Vicky, hey, Tom. It's really funny when you notice things in yourself. I wrote a post the other day about how, when we judge other people, it's often, hey girl, it's often because it's actually something that we judge in ourselves. And I've picked up on that a lot lately, with little things, we're very quick to judge. So I'll just give you a few examples. Like we're very quick to judge people on parenting things, but often it's because we judge ourselves in that area. So anyway, I got some feedback recently that I have very high standards for myself and others. And I realized that I have high standards in other people because I expect too much of myself often. And a lot of the time, it's actually not realistic either. It comes from, I really started journaling about this and going, right, where did this start? And why am I just so highly strung with standards sometimes and expect so much? And I realized it really comes from literally a decade of being in this really unhealthy pattern. Yeah, Vicky, look, it's not a bad thing to have high standards. It is a bad thing when the high standards are not healthy or realistic. So I'll get into it. I'll explain. So back in high school, I worked really hard. I, was a bit rebellious and did some stupid things as we do when we're young. But all in all, I was, I focused on my studies, and I really put a lot of pressure on myself. My parents didn't. I'm really grateful for them. They never put pressure on me, but I put a lot of pressure on myself. I chose a course that you had to get over 96 to get into. And I got that. I got 96.4 or something and got into that. I don't know what it's called nowadays, ATAR or whatever. Got into that course. And then it was like, I'd always been fairly decent with academic work. So kind of like that's where the high standards started from, right? So then it was like I went to uni, I had to move to Sydney, and I was like, right, my rent is $250 a week. I was earning $500 a week between Sports Girl, Gloria Jeans, and working cash in hand in the Cross. I was working as like a door bitch in the Cross and doing street work, like handing out flyers and stuff. And I just, I was still studying full time, even though I had to work so freaking hard just to be in Sydney. But of course, I couldn't stop. I couldn't take a year off. Like that would be failure, right? So I just burnt myself into the ground working all these jobs and trying to just like keep my head above water and make sure that I was still getting good grades at uni, that everyone else was doing it. So why couldn't I, even though I was comparing to people living at home with their parents and not actually working jobs? It would have been fine if I did my course part-time. But no, I had to put, Adelina absolutely knows this. Girl, my God, you're actually in my notes to mention. Adelina's my spiritual coach who's helped me through so much of this. So anyway, I used to put so much pressure on myself, so much pressure. And I'd be at uni at 4 a.m. finishing an essay because I had to work all day, and I would want to do my very best. I'd want to still get good results and still get really good grades, even though, like I said, I was earning $500 a week and my rent was $250 a week. Like it was so hard. And yeah, like I would sometimes have to work till like 2 a.m. in the Cross. And then of course I go out for drinks. I got caught up with shitty people, like a really bad crowd there. Luckily I have a very, very loving sister who pulled me out and was just like, girl, wake up. So that was a big moment for me, but that's a whole nother Facebook Live. This live is on high standards and healthy standards. But that sort of, I still succeeded at uni. I still finished my degree. Actually, so the next step was after I burnt out after that first year, I had saved all this money to buy my mum's car off her. And I basically had this massive breakdown and I just pissed off to India. Like, fuck knows why I chose India. I'm pretty sure I just walked into STA, which is the student travel like agency, and I was just like, what can I buy for this amount of money? Like, I think it was literally $2,000 and I wanted to go for a month holiday. So of course I went to India where it's dirt cheap, right? And I have always wanted to go to India, but like I could have gone anywhere, would have just gone wherever I could afford, right? So I went and taught English in India, and I was supposed to stay for like, I think 3 or 4 weeks. I ended up staying for 6 weeks because I just loved it over there, and it was so freeing. And I just felt like I had like ripped out of this, like, you know, my life in Sydney, which was so stressful and so full. And I was just in this like glorious, free new space. So had a fantastic holiday over there. Then I came back and I was like, you know what? I just can't do what I did last year. Like, I can't do that again. So of course, being the high standards that I still hadn't realized at that time. Yeah, Crystal, totally. You've so inspired me with your story. I took a year off so that I could get government assistance, which you have to work for a year to show that you can get government assistance. So I took the year off and I worked at Suncorp. And the lovely George has just joined, who has a background in banking as well. Hi, lovely. So I worked at Suncorp for a year, and of course, again, high standards, put lots of pressure on myself. I wanted to exceed my targets and, you know, like get to the top. So I was 19 or 20 working there, and I ended up being the assistant manager. So I just was like, you know, like super gung-ho at that job. Then the next year I went back to uni, and I think I was still working at Suncorp part-time and still at Sportsgirl part-time. And then I worked at a cafe as well. So didn't learn my lesson. I still worked 3 jobs while studying full-time until the rest of my degree. And then I did a series of internships and ended up working in a really good agency when I left uni. So, you know, graduated, started working in this agency. Yeah, Crystal, banking. Never would have known it, hey? Started working in this really good agency. But, you know, agency life in PR is like full on. Like, you are just go from 8 in the morning till 8 at night. What it means is you get a lot of experience. So I got so much experience. I worked really hard. I got 3 promotions in 2 years. I was like on my way to, you know, being in a really comfortable, good position within an agency. So I just, you know, oh yeah, Vicky, I got out of the cross. Yeah, thank Christ for that. It was such a bad experience there. Don't ever let your daughter work in the cross. Just give her money so that she doesn't have to be around that crowd. Anyway, where was I? I was working in an agency and loved it. Like, I still work in an agency. I love PR, but I started using these products. Most of you guys know I used to do Isagenix. And so I started using these products. I loved them. I learned about network marketing, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is my chance to really build something for myself and, you know, build up a business and do something really awesome and, you know, like succeed and sort of, you know, build something really big. And I loved it because I love mentoring people. I love helping people and I love empowering people. So I was like, oh, you know, health is a really big value of mine. So it's like, I can help people with their health and their wealth and feel really good, but then I can also help them, you know, earn money and be a bit more independent. So I did that for 4 years in the end. And it was always on the side of a job, or like I had a year maternity leave. So I did it during my maternity leave as well. But what I found was, whilst I earned money, and I posted about this the other day, like I earned 70 grand in 4 years. So, you know, I did well, but I didn't do that wasn't my goal. Like, my goal was to earn a lot of money and help a lot of people in my team earn a lot of money, and they just weren't. And it was really disheartening, and I just felt like such a failure, and my standards were really high, as you would have seen from my story. My standards have always been really high, and I was just like, I just always felt like a failure. I always felt like, you know what, I don't want to do the things that you have to do to be really successful in this industry. And, I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd go to bed at 12 o'clock at night, having worked on my business after coming home from work. And yeah, I just was like, you know what, this energy is just not for me. And meanwhile, I got married, and I, met the love of my life, Vic, and, we started a future together, and we bought a house, and, lots of successes in other areas that have always been my goals. But I guess network marketing and my business was like the first time that I'd put a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of heart, a lot of myself into something and not fully succeeded. So just going to take a moment to let that sink in. So then I was at this point. So actually about maybe 2 or 3 years into network marketing, I don't, roughly 15 grand a year, which is a couple $100 a week, right? I'm earning. We're getting married. It helped pay for our wedding. It helped us go on a honeymoon. It helped us save for a house. It helped with a few different things. Then we were like, right, we've been married. I think I was 25. Let's look at having a baby. And high standards, of course, I just want to have a baby straight away. I'm healthy. I've spent 6 years, really being fit and healthy. I would make intricate salads. I'd make green smoothies and stuff at work. I would, ride 8 kilometers to and from work. I would go to the gym every single morning. I was so into my fitness and my health. And you want to know what makes you feel like a failure? Being told at 25 that you don't have what it takes to have kids. That is what failure felt like to me. And my standards were so high. So high that I was like, this can't be happening. I was just in so much denial. I was in so much denial and just thought, no, I've always been healthy and I've always done everything right. Nothing like a live when you do a nice little ugly cry. Just thought I'd give you guys some entertainment with that. My glasses are going to start fogging up soon, so I need some little windscreen wipers. But my standards were just high, right? I was just I was impatient, and I was like, I'm going to have a child right now. I've succeeded in everything else. Hard work gets you. Who has heard hard work gets you everywhere? All you have to do is work hard. You can do it. You just have to work hard. There is no such thing as working hard to have a child when you don't have the actual mechanics inside of you to have a child. No amount of sex will do that. So anyway, I won't get into the whole story there, but obviously there is a story. And so that was really the first time I had to look at my standards and go, wow, I am putting so much pressure on myself to just have a baby right now. It was just so much pressure. And meanwhile, I'm obviously putting that pressure on myself with my network marketing business as well. So it was just a few I look back now, those years were really, really high pressure years. Wow. I put a lot of pressure on myself and on our relationship and my business, and yeah, just so much. It's crazy. And so obviously I've got Theo, right? So obviously in the end, I had a child when I was 27. So there was, a massive learning on patience, which is great. It was a very good learning on patience, but I also had to learn that the only person putting pressure on myself was me. No one else was. I was my own boss in my business, and there was no one yelling at me saying, have a child, have a child. Vic certainly wasn't. He was just so beautiful and patient. He was going with the flow and, you know, just like it'll happen when it happens. Like, you know, he was just like this freaking Gandhi. Like, meanwhile, I'm just like, give me a baby. I need to get pregnant. Like, I'm in my prime. So anyway, that was really the first part of realizing that, yeah, my standards were quite high. So then fast forward to where I am now. Fast forward to about 6 to 9 months ago. I was still, and I still am now, passionate about Isagenix products. I love them. I use them every day. I had a shake this morning. But I started to realize that what I wanted was bigger than what I could get with the business. And I also started to realize that I have a lot of potential. And I'm not saying that from an arrogant place. I think everyone has a lot of potential. But I didn't feel like it was being able to be utilized well. I'm just going to get rid of my teary snot there. It wasn't being utilized in the way that I wanted to express it. Like I said, I've always loved mentoring people. I've loved helping women, empowering women, like at work, at the agency that I work at. I love when I have like the KPI catch-ups with the girls and I show them like how well they're doing. And, you know, we talk about where do you want to be in a year and what do you want development in your skills and, you know, like really harnessing the talents that they have. I've always loved that. But it was killing me that I was earning a bit of money, but my team weren't. So I decided to step out of my business. And I had seen one of my friends, Beck, doing really well in this other business that I could just tell it wasn't network marketing and that it was something a bit different. It was like she was building this brand and she was stepping into her power and she was doing so much inner work and like really had changed so much. She was like in flow and things would like not rushed and frantic and crazy and manic all the time. It was like just, she had this different energy. And so I reached out to her and we got chatting and whatever. And obviously I started building my own personal brand, which is what I'm helping people do now. And what I started to do, tissues. What I did was I went, right, I really have some like personal shit I need to work through. So I did a 3-month intensive course with the gorgeous Adelina, who I think is on. She was on before. And we worked through some serious blockages, like blockages that have been there my whole life, including how much pressure I put on myself and the anxiety that I get from time pressure and putting all this pressure on myself when it comes to what I need or want to get done in a certain period of time. And she really helped me to realize that, hello, gorgeous Adelina. And she helped me to realize that I'm actually in control of my time and I have enough time for all that is important and meaningful to me. Just going to let that land. You have enough time for all that is important and meaningful to you. It's up to you how you prioritize. So basically I went to her and I was like, I'm starting this new business. I feel like I'm just this like a vessel of anxiety and like really high, what's the word? Like, not high vibing because that's positive, but like highly strung. I felt really highly strung. And I was like, I do not want to start a business when I'm in this space. Like I will repel people. Like I wouldn't want to work with myself. So we talked about stuff that you would never think would be relevant to where I was. Like we talked about how I was born, literally how I was born, things in my childhood, my family, like just things in my relationship with Vic. Like we've been together for 8 years. So obviously, you change a lot from 20 to 28. Just so many patterns, so many behaviors, so many shitty self-beliefs and thoughts that do not serve me. Like, for example, my experience with network marketing, I was like, I never achieved my goals. That's what I was telling myself is like, I never achieved my goals. Like, what's the point? Like, it didn't work last time, so why is it going to work this time, right? Does that sound familiar to you, to anyone? Like, I was not even looking at all of the success that I had had in other areas of my life. Like, I was married with a child, You would think that that would feel like success for some people, right? That a family is the most important thing. But no, I was just like focusing on the negatives. So yeah, there was so much we worked through, so much. But one of the things was there's high standards and then there's healthy standards. And healthy standards is when you go, I'm going to do my best with what I have in the scenario that I'm in. I'm going to do my best with what I have in the scenario that I'm in. So for example, if Tio is sick and I have to work from home, I have to do my best knowing that I can't do a full day of work, knowing that I have to look after my son. He's my first priority. I might be able to sneak in a couple of hours work while he's asleep and then a couple of hours work when he goes to bed at night. But I won't be able to do what I usually get done in a day at the office, right? And I'm not saying that I am very good at this yet. This is absolutely an area of development for me. Like, it is very new and very, it's something I'm working on all the time. So I'm not at all lecturing or being a martyr here telling you this. But what I have realized, and becoming a mum no one tells you all of this, but becoming a mum has been a really big struggle with standards, right? So, if you're someone like me, when you're a bit of an A-type personality, you go back to work and you want to be really good at your job. You want to, I'm an account director. I want to be a really good leader. I want to inspire my team. I want to do a great job. I want to be really successful for my clients. But at the same time, I have this like 1-year-old that needs me, that's getting sick every week from daycare, that gets dropped off to daycare at 7:30 in the morning and picked up at 6 o'clock at night. He's exhausted, and no one tells you all of this. And it's like, you can have really high standards in motherhood and in your job, but they're not always going to mesh. They're not always going to meet. So, you really have to sometimes things have to give. Like, in a marriage, we compromise. It's exactly the same with your job and parenthood. So, I've had to learn to really compromise in those areas and know that, some days I'm really lucky because my work is very flexible and understanding, but some days I'm just going to have to put in a sick day when Tio's sick because I literally cannot work. Or some days I'm going to be at work and someone's going to have to pick up Tio because I can't leave at 5 to pick him up at 6, And so having this new business, having worked through a lot with Adelina, I've started to realize that my business, like, I'm building it at a pace that feels really good for me, and I'm empowering women. And I would love to go out there and really make a fucking huge splash in the ocean and bring all these women with me and show them that they can step into their potential and really make something worthwhile. I'd love to do that with 1,000 women, but that's my high standard. My healthy standard is doing it at a natural, organic rate that works with my family, with my job, with my lifestyle. I'm not single with no kids. I'm not single with no job. I've got all of those things and they're really important parts of my life. So it's like this jigsaw puzzle that I have to pull together and really be respectful of as well, and know that I'm doing my best with what I've got in the scenario that I'm in. So, if you take one thing from this, please, please, please remember to have healthy standards and be bloody realistic. Be realistic. Not everyone's going to be a perfect mum. Not everyone is going to be, perfect at work. I have been guilty of putting too much pressure on the girls at work because my standards are so high in myself. I expect them to have the same standards, but they're not realistic standards. It's exactly the same. So, look, we have created this space called the Women's Collective, and the type of things we're talking about is exactly this, pouring our hearts out and sharing our real, raw, authentic truth, and not just the lesson that we've learned, but how we've learned it. I've just ugly cried in front of you guys because I want you to understand where all of this came from. Like, I could have just got up here and gone, you know what, I've learned to not have high standards and to have healthy standards instead, and blah, blah, blah. But that's not going to land with you unless you know how I got to be that way and how I learned the lesson the fucking hard way. Like, how I learned it from having to go through all of that. And then, you know, like, working so hard with Adelina. So if you want to be part of the Women's Collective, there's a lot more content like this in there. It's not curated. It's not an art gallery for social media, which so many freaking Instagrams are and social places, communities are. It's real. It's raw. We're all just in there growing and stepping into our greatness and our potential and doing it realistically and in a way that we can as women without putting too much pressure on ourselves and being like, you know what, I have to cook the perfect dinner and be the perfect wife and be the perfect businesswoman or career woman and stuff, and then also build this multi-million-dollar business in 6 months. Like, you get to choose what your goals are and whether they're realistic, and step into your greatness and achieve your goals in a way that feels good to you. No franticness, no like anxiety, no, pardon me, just a little burp then. I think it was a nerve burp. No, you know, no pressure. It's you that gets to make all of these decisions. You choose your thoughts, you choose your patterns, you choose your behaviors. So it's radical responsibility, which, you know, is looking in the mirror. It's taking a mirror and looking in the mirror as well, which is a massive thing that Adelina's taught me to do. But it's also just going, you know what? No one else is expecting this of me. I am expecting this of me because I am putting pressure on myself, but no one else is expecting this. And I bet you other people look at you and go, wow, she is so amazing. She's so great. And actually look up to you. But you look in the bloody mirror and you only see your faults or where you fall down or what you're not doing. That is not healthy. And I honestly, I bet there is no one else looking at you that same way. If only you looked at yourself the way that other people do. Again, I'm not saying this lecturing. I'm saying this because that was the hard truth that Adelina had to tell me. So I'm going to leave it there because I'm pretty sure the IKEA truck is parked out the front of my house right now. I'm waiting for me to get the door. I've just been ignoring him because I wanted to finish this live with that. But yes, I just want to leave with saying that please, 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 and I'm not a feminist. This is also for men. I feel like men are probably even worse in putting so much high standards on themselves and expecting too much and trying to do too much and be all these different roles and these different people, right? Because there's such a like traditional role of the man being this powerful, strong, breadwinner and this like strong personality. Whether you're male or female, and maybe you're a parent and you're trying to do everything and do a fucking fantastic job at it all, be realistic and realize that healthy standards are when you can just do your best in any given situation. So with that in mind, I'm going to do my best at bringing in this IKEA stuff, and I'm not going to touch any flat packing today because that is not the energy I'm in right now. I might hire a hubby for that. And yeah, if you would like to be part of the Women's Collective, just comment below with like the most epic womanly emoji, like a lion or a female scientist or whatever it is that gets you pumped. And yeah, we'll be officially launching tomorrow night at 7. So you want to get in there before then. And I'd love to just hear, please, like, is there anything that resonated with you with what I said? Because I'd love to hear if this was just me ugly crying or if it was worth me sharing all of that. Thank you so much, guys. So much love. I'm going to go blow my nose and then get the door. Mwah. Have a wonderful Tuesday.